Hello, everyone. My name is Wes Bush, and here we are going to go through one of my favorite topics with Allan, who is the CEO and co-founder of Klipfolio, and also the Chief Innovation Officer up until the last year. And so one of the things that I'm really excited about whenever it comes to product-led growth is just how can you build an organization that is product-led? Because whenever it comes to product-led growth, it's not just as simple as throwing up a free trial and freemium model, and then all of a sudden you're this product-led business. Not at all. You have to really make sure that your organization, your marketing team, your product team, your customer success team, and even your finance team are all aligned and really thinking about how they can use the product to hit their goals. And so today, Allan has had so much experience really building product-led businesses, especially building Klipfolio up to be product-led. And so he's going to take it away and really just show us how you can structure your organization in a product-first company.
All right, that sounds great. Thanks, Wes. So super happy to be here. As Wes mentioned, I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at Klipfolio. We've been doing this for a long time, and we truly are a product-first company. The first time I actually heard about product first was actually from Intercom, and I think it was like Des Traynor kind of introduced the term, and it really kind of made a lot of sense to us. It resonated because a lot of the things that we were doing, they were doing as well. So it's something that I'm really passionate about, and it really does make a huge, huge difference to the way you structure your organization. So I'm going to run through a number of things that sort of lead up and culminate into how we structure our organization, and maybe that'll help you understand what to do to truly make your organization and your team's product first. So why don't we get into this? So the first thing that I want to do is I want to just focus in on what is product-led. I think there's going to be a lot of definitions over the course of this conference, but here's the combination that I think makes most sense for me. So first of all, and this is the thing that most people understand. So if you're talking about product first or product-led, product is the way, it's the primary way that you acquire, you retain, you expand your customers. But it doesn't stop there. And the thing that most people don't understand is that the second part is that every single team is aligned and organized around that concept. Product first doesn't mean that it's marketing second or sales second. It means that all the other organizations, general and admin, legal, sales, customer support, they all use the product as their primary way of delivering the things they're accountable to execute on. So those two things, product is the primary way that you deliver, and every single team is organized around that concept, are really important. So as with everything, it all starts with a user. And I'm going to kind of walk through users, I'm going to walk through trends, and I think those things will help us understand why product first and why you structure things in a certain way. So let's start with your users. And for us, you know, the world is changing quite a bit. We've been in business for well over 15 years, and we've seen a big shift in technology, in user expectations. And certainly when we look at the users for our product today, we see a different mix and different expectations. So for us, when we look at users, our users, they're mostly SMB customers. They live in the cloud. Their social life, online, offline, in the business, outside of the business, is fairly transparent. They are expecting Google-like accessibility and timeliness for their answers. So all of these things have changed for our users and their expectations of the tools that they use in their personal life, and of course also the tools that they use in their work life. So when we look at things, we sort of look at, you know, what's their home life like, what's their work life like, and what is their technology like. And this is actually a slide that we used internally as we're looking towards the future. What are the things that are going to be impacting, you know, each section of their life? And you know, you can use a slide like this as well. And not all of the things on here are going to be relevant to our business, and not all of the things are going to be relevant to the users that you're targeting either. But for us, for example, if I look at under the work category, more cloud and more data is certainly one of the things that is really important to the future of our users and our customers. So understanding what those dynamics are and how users' lives inside and outside of work are changing is really a fundamental understanding, or a fundamental part of understanding what product first is and how to then structure your organization. So having said that, looking at the big mega trends is important as well. And I mean, this is something that, you know, I could spend almost all day on. But again, as you structure your organization and as you understand who your users are and what the opportunities are and where you need to innovate, looking at these mega trends is really important as well. So, and again, just like the previous slide where we had personal life, work life, and technology, some of these are going to be more important to your business than others. I think the most interesting one for us is the aging population, or the population dynamics. So the way we look at that is that there's going to be labor shortages in the future. So the population dynamics are shifting so that there are less work-enabled, the population of work-enabled bodies around are going to be very sparse. And that means that there's going to be more automation. There's going to be more AI and machine learning that comes into play. And people are going to have more competition because of that as well. So that's one of the things that we need to really understand from a business point of view. How is the changing population, the changing world population changing, and what can we do to really affect that? So there's a lot of other things as well. Like one of the things that is going to be big in the future is data and data security. So again, how does that impact the way you structure your organization? Does your legal team need to be product first and really understand how to work through the GDPR, how to work through data privacy? What are the things inside of application that you need to structure differently that in a non-product first world you would have done in a written legal document, and you would have thrown that over the fence as somebody buys your software? So again, knowing what all of these changes are and what these trends are really will impact the way you hire, the way you structure your organization, and perhaps more importantly, what are the opportunities for innovation and growth that your company looks at in the future? So those trends, and if you take a look at sort of what's happened as far as the primary sales paths, so I've got two slides that have slightly different views on this. So just from a high level, if you take a look at back to the 1990s, you know, it was a very sales-driven culture. And you had a field sales rep who would go out and perhaps it was a brick and mortar type of distribution channel, but it was fairly expensive. That then gave way to more of a marketing first channel. So all of a sudden the rise of companies like HubSpot and this inbound or this marketing first type of channel started driving leads. We started hearing words such as demand gen. That's a word that I don't think we ever heard, you know, back in the 1990s. So all of a sudden the whole landscape changed. And then only in the sort of, you know, mid, 2015, 2012, did we start seeing some companies adopt this product first philosophy. And as I said, the first company that I saw adopt it was Intercom. And, you know, they were really trailblazing as far as I was concerned. And if you take a look at how the technology has shifted as well, I mean, that'll give you a clue as to why things have changed too. And as you're doing this, take a look at, you know, the cost of distribution. So when you had brick and mortar, of course, there was a lot of cost in how you distributed your software. That then gave way to more the CDs, you know, AOL online, you know, the precursor to Netflix, Blockbuster. They started selling via CDs. You know, then came sort of the modems, broadband, and we're about to have 5G. All of this means that our distribution channels, or the cost of distributing, is going down. And there's this relentless trend to keep CAC going down and down and down. So, and I think that has a lot to do, or that really gives us a clue as to how product first has come to play. So let's look at it a different way. As I said, in the 1990s, it was very much a field sales type of selling solution. Average prices for software were higher. Typically, companies didn't go after small and mid because that was a difficult market to crack. typically companies were going after larger companies because there was a list of large companies. I knew that I had to get to these VPs. And if I went out and wined and dined them, that was probably the most effective way of selling fairly high and expensive software into companies. That then gave way to inside sales. So again, inside sales has got a lower cost of selling than field sales. Inside sales then got hooked up to inbound marketing. So the rise of SEO and sort of that whole combination of inbound lead gen really made a huge difference to the market. And again, cost of selling, cost of marketing is going down. And then we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg here for product first. So again, it is a way to reduce the cost of selling and marketing. If everything is happening inside of the product with the rise of freemium or free trials, then the whole flow, the way you sell, the way you upgrade, the way you support, everything is happening inside of the product. And this is probably the most effective, probably also the most testable, and the least cost effective, or the least costly way to bring customers through a trial experience into a buying experience. And if you take a look down at the bottom of this slide, here are some examples of the companies that got big during these eras, right? So in the sales driven, you think of Oracle, you think of PeopleSoft and SAP. These were big enterprise first companies. You know, then sort of in the middle, you look at companies like NetSuite or Box, or the one that I always think of is HubSpot. So HubSpot was very much a marketing driven inbound first type of company. Now they're definitely making the shift. They're innovating and making the shift into product first. But if you take a look at the current generation of companies, you know, we think of Slack. We think of companies that really don't have an outbound or even an inbound focus to the way they sell. Everything, the demo experience, the onboarding, the trial and the buying experience, the upgrading experience, everything happens and is optimized for an in-product experience. So there's really three massive trends that are shaping this product-led growth movement, right? So first of all, I see the changing user expectations. So this UX revolution that is really commercializing or consumerizing is the word that I'm looking for, consumerizing everything that is software. So the expectations of the users are shifting dramatically. And I think this is a great thing, right? The way they use their Apple Watch, the way they use their Fitbit, the way they're using software at home is really something that they expect to be able to do with enterprise or business type of software as well. The other thing that we just chatted about, technology has constantly driven down CAC, and it will continue to do so. And then the last one is there's this massive trend where it's bottom up as opposed to top down selling. And that's not only a change in buying behavior, but again, it's also a matter of, you know, what the cost of selling and the cost of marketing has done. So those three things working together have really given rise to this amazing product-led growth philosophy. So let's have a look at some data, and the data as well will help us understand or help us shape how we actually structure some of our teams. So this is data that I got from Battery and from OpenView, and if you Google that, there's loads more data that they actually publish every year. So I've just pulled out a few things. I've pulled out our EBITDA margin, I've pulled out our revenue growth, and then the valuation multiples. And I've pulled it out for two segments. So one is the public product-led, that's the stuff that we care about now, and we're pitting that against also a very aggressive sector, which is just all of the SaaS companies. So we're looking at public companies that are either just pure SaaS or ones that have been identified as product first. Every single metric, and you can see it here, every single metric is better. It's more efficient, there's higher growth. And the one that is absolutely crazy, if you look at these, and really growth is the thing that the markets value, the valuation multiple is 2 times that of just the public SaaS index. I mean, that is staggering beyond any other metric. That is just an enormous metric that we have to pay attention to. If we take a look at ratios, and this is where we kind of see, you know, what are companies doing to achieve those growth numbers. on average, what we're seeing is that folks within a product first are spending more on R&D. And that makes sense because their sales teams, their marketing teams, their finance teams are now internal customers demanding certain flows, demanding certain things within the product experience. So it goes to show that more energy needs to be spent on the product side. It doesn't, and this is where the misconception comes in. Product first, again, doesn't mean that it's marketing second or sales second. We just have all of that activity happening via the product experience. So again, customers are expecting things to happen within the product. So selling, marketing, supporting, buying all have to happen inside of that. So not a big shock. There's definitely more there. The famous example, of course, is if you look at Salesforce versus Atlassian. I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but Salesforce spends something like 15% on R&D, whereas Atlassian is spending 48% on R&D. And I think it's almost the reverse if you take a look at the sales and marketing expenses. So Salesforce, I would consider more of a sales first or a marketing first company. Atlassian has certainly adopted this product first philosophy. All right, so let's dive into the org. And I've talked to a lot of companies. I've looked at a lot of org charts. What I'm doing here is I'm going to describe the way we have organized our company. So we're a company that has about 115 employees, most of them here in Ottawa. We've got a few folks around the world as well. But for the most part, we've got these 4 pillars. We've got general and admin, we've got product, we've got marketing, and we've got success. So I'll walk through each of those. But then just as important, and this is perhaps more important in a product first company, just as important as these pillars are the cross-functional disciplines or guilds. So culture and values. That is something that every single company or department or team inside of the company needs to really understand and live. Innovation is something that doesn't just live in a lab, or the fact that my title is Chief Innovation Officer, if I was the only one innovating, that would be a pretty bad thing. So innovation is again, it's a cultural thing that lives, at the coalface. So it's something that happens, inside of every single department. Just a quick sidebar on that. I love Toyota's saying where every employee has 2 jobs. One is the job that you were hired for, but the other job is to innovate, to improve what you're doing. And I love that philosophy. So it really is important that innovation is a cross-functional way of thinking about things. Growth is another thing that is important, and we really take a look at the funnel. The customer doesn't really care that, I'm now jumping from the R&D team to the marketing team to the sales team to the legal team. The customer just sees a journey. And the growth philosophy understands that journey needs to be optimized. Anytime where there's hurdles or bumps, and you can be incredibly data driven about this, anytime where you see these changes, they can be optimized, any kind of, all of these ratios. And that's something that we do quite obsessively. And then the other thing that is very important is, again, cross-functionally, is brand experience. So looking at those things and really making sure that the customer journey and the customer experience is homogeneous and consistent throughout is really important. All right, so why don't we dive into each of these groups? So let's talk about general and admin first. And I actually talked to each of our department leaders about this as well, and I collected their thoughts. So the way we have general and admin structured is we've got finance, we've got legal, we've got business operations, which is critically important. I'll get into that in a second. HR and admin. And I would say the most important functions, the most important metrics that I would want those teams to really be monitoring and optimizing around are growth and churn on the financial side. And then on the culture side, it's HR. So make sure that there's some HR metrics and some culture metrics. And those things can be measured. So we use constant polling to understand culture, engagement, and retention. Are we hiring the right people? Is the vision clear? Things like that. That's really, really important, especially as you scale above maybe 40 or 50 people. So I think, as I said before, one of the things that this team, and this is usually where the CEO sits, the most affinity with the CEO needs to make sure that there is a strong mission. And that goes, that's not just product-led specific, it really goes across any kind of company. But in a product-first company, this is really important because there's so much alignment needed between the teams. Make sure that there is a strong and a clear mission that is repeated again and again and again, something that really resonates. And it took us a long time to come up with our mission, something that is simple, but really sort of helps us figure things out. And you can ask questions. So ours is help people succeed with data. So we can ask, of anything that we do, is this really helping somebody succeed with their data? So go through that exercise and make sure that that's really strong. Make sure that HR is really a center of excellence. Are you hiring for values? Are you hiring for their principles? Are the people that you're hiring associating themselves with this mission? Does it resonate? Will they be motivated? Will they feel like they want to innovate inside of the company? So that's really important, especially inside of a product-first company. I talked about BizOps. So one thing that we've noticed, especially as we've grown, the data quality and the cross-functional availability of data is paramount. So much of what every single team is going to be doing is looking at the data, making decisions based on that data. And now you may be saying, well, obviously we're biased because we're a dashboarding and a business intelligence company. But every company that I talk to struggles with data, and there's nothing like having beautiful, clear, crystal clean data that you can actually help to make decisions. So that's a function that I would make sure have dedicated resources, developers on, and it's, especially as you add more and more tools, like we use Zuora, Marketo, Salesforce, Zendesk, all of these tools for producing data, and you want to make sure that you've got a holistic picture of what your customers are doing. Everything that happens in app, from a finance point of view, from an invoicing point of view, from a billing point of view, credit card processing, all of that stuff has to be seamless and of course, in application. So the more you can automate that, and for us, we have a volume-based business. We've got 11,000 customers globally. Each of them are updating on a monthly or an annual basis. So this has to be incredibly smooth. And we put a lot of energy into understanding where are people dropping off, where are the rough spots inside of those flows. And then, as I mentioned, clear privacy policies. And again, for us, that happens in application. Are we making sure that people feel like their privacy is of paramount importance? Do we have clear statements on what the legalese actually mean? So how do we build that trusted relationship, especially in a company where we're bringing in a lot of their data is really, really important. All right, let's take a look at success. So in a traditional company, you would have selling and you would have support. And there's debate on this. What we've actually done is we've put those two groups together and we call them success. I know that success is a fairly common term, especially with product-first companies, but success usually only includes the post-sale, so the support and the account management. In our case, we've actually put both things together, the pre-sale, the post-sale, and also the support side. So the groups that we have, we've got acquisition. So this is our selling engine. We've got onboarding. So as soon as somebody buys, we spend time helping them get up to speed. We've got account management. So this is loyalty and retention. Then we have support, and then we have professional services. And for this group, the most important two metrics that I would say they need to keep an absolute focus on are lifetime value and net dollar retention. So both of those talk about, what is the average monthly recurring revenue. Both of them talk about, what is the logo churn. So looking at LTV or net dollar retention, there's a lot of underlying health metrics that come into that. And this team has got a massive role to play in making sure that those things are really optimized and well running. So let's take a look at some of the things that we have learned along the way as far as success. So we do, live in-application chat. So we make it as easy as possible and as close to where the person might be having questions to jump in to assist them. And we use OLARC. We've just started using Drift as well for certain applications. Very related to the live in-app help is we also have in-application tours. So using Pendo, we use Zendesk for our help desk. So really, again, trying to get those things as close as possible to make sure that the onboarding, the learning experience, if there are any features inside of the application where people are stumbling, let's see if we can learn about those and also help them get over those hurdles using some sort of in-app application help. One thing that we've done actually quite successfully as well is we've tried to build communities. And we've built communities where we encourage our current customers to help and share for the benefit of other customers. So not only do we learn a lot, but we have a big partner ecosystem. For our partner ecosystem, this is a way of building relationships with some of their potential customers as well. So this is, again, it's a way of reducing CAC, it's a way of learning, it's a way of making sure that our customers are more engaged with our product. But the community aspect is a great way of building that moat and building this ecosystem of fans that are all helping one another. One of the things that is fairly common inside of product first companies is this concept of PQLs, or product qualified leads. And for us, this is really important because we have a tool that starts at $29 a month. At $29 a month, if we are not seeing any expansion opportunity, this is not something that we can really have a salesperson spend a lot of time with. So we need to do a lot of qualification, and a lot of that qualification happens inside of the application. So what are the things, and we use Mixpanel to look at all of the various behaviors in the app. What are all of the things that a user or a trial user is doing in the application that will tell us whether we should have somebody engage or whether we should put this person on a self-serve or a self-help flow. So again, really making sure that the salespeople are only tasked to work with the high potential dollar accounts. That's something that can, your product can really influence that, and your product can tell you about that. So making sure that you've got instrumentation for that.
And so whenever it comes to setting up product qualified leads, how do you go about that whole process? Since I know a lot of people listening to this really struggle with just understanding, how do you set up product qualified leads?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and we've actually struggled with it as well. So there's one school of thought that says, well, look at the behavior inside the application and determine if these guys are real, and if they're real, start engaging with them. So the problem with that is that those customers might have purchased on their own free will anyhow. You're chasing the ones that are going to close anyhow. So why put a salesperson on that? So the way I would prefer to look at it is, let's look at some of those behavioral metrics, but let's also see what's the potential of this company. So we use some data enrichment. I think is it Clearbit? Is Clearbit one of the
Probably
data
Clearbit.
Yeah, I think Clearbit is one of the tools that we use. We've tried a bunch. Just again, another little sidebar. The problem with these data enrichment companies is they have a great database for mid to enterprise, but they struggle with the small and mid-sized companies, and especially the ones that are outside of North America. So we try to do a lot of qualification. We actually ask a few questions as somebody signs up. We say, we ask them a few questions that will tell us about the potential expansion of this account. And if this is an account that has potential expansion, that almost more than the behavioral is a trigger for our salespeople to get involved and see if they can help them. So that's the way we look at PQLs. So we're measuring this stuff, we're asking questions, we're doing progressive profiling, and a combination of behavioral and also demographic data will tell us, hey, should we engage or should we not engage? So that's something that is working out quite well for us.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for explaining that.
Yeah, no problems. And then it probably makes absolute sense, but inside of the application, selling has to really work with product to make sure that there's an amazing self-serve demo experience. Like, is the sample content good? Are the onboarding, are the zero states, the first 5 minutes, are they really compelling? Are they easy enough, or are people dropping off? So really having selling involved in that first 5-minute experience is something that's really important. And then post-sale, making sure that there are in-application upgrade paths. Can somebody, without talking to anybody, can somebody naturally buy more of your service or upgrade to a higher plan? So making sure that those are optimized and easy to manage as well. All right, let's talk about product. So for us, product is really more than anything. It's a trifecta of UX, R&D, and product management. So looking a little bit more closely, if we dive into that, so PM, we've got UX research. So looking at our actual anecdotal information, and we put a lot of weight into UX research as well. Our UX team, our development team, our QA, and our SRE teams as well. So we do continual deployments. We do multiple deployments every week, and sometimes multiple a day. So having a really good SRE team is critical. The two important metrics, or the metrics that I would say are critical here, it's not necessarily NPS, but you want to be measuring something that tells you a quality of engagement. So how well do you have product market fit? Are people coming in, and are they engaged? And we have NPS scores where we measure NPS 30, NPS 60, NPS 90, NPS 365. So at various stages throughout, we have surveys that go out to a random sampling of our customers where we get that feedback back. We also have other engagement metrics as well. So measuring the quality of those first experiences is really important. And then obviously conversion rate, and then we call it 5-5-5 retention. So, what's the drop off after 5 minutes? What's the drop off after 5 days? And what's the drop off after 5 weeks? And I've heard some people say 5 weeks or 5 months, but looking at those various stages, and 100 trials come in, do you have only 50 trials after 5 minutes? After 5 days, is that down to 10 trials? So really understanding and then being able to measure and move that curve up is something that the product team is really focused on. So the advice for the product teams is really overinvest in UX. This revolution of the consumerization of software is something that really your users are expecting. They're expecting it to be beautiful. They're expecting it to be flawless and delightful. So overinvest in UX research, make sure your mental models are mapped, and put time into UX as a function. As I just said, obsess about the 5-5-5. Have a process where you can deliberately measure those, on an ongoing basis, and test around those things as well. Measure every single flow, and then for the UX research, map not only the data that you're getting from Mixpanel or from Heap, map that data back to the anecdotal data as well. If you can, make sure that your product and PMs are sitting in on the UX research interviews, or better yet, have customers come in and watch them do things. So there's nothing like really sitting or shadowing a customer or a user and watching them go through certain things. One thing that I really am a big fan of is, as you're testing is not only to improve certain things, but it's also there to remove certain things. There was a stat that I saw recently, which was totally shocking. 80% of features developed for software are rarely or never used. I mean, just think of the wasted resources and the extra mental load that your users have to go through in navigating this stuff that they rarely or never use. Think of the ongoing maintenance cost, and the technical debt that introduces. So if you can test to remove, this is something that will pay dividends, not only for your users, but also for the product moving forward, the speed, the velocity at which you can run. And then obviously the future favors innovation. Always make sure that you're obsolescing the current product. Think about, what are the things that we could do to really keep moving forward in leaps and bounds. I find that innovation is often something that isn't deliberate enough. Innovation happens in the early days, and then it happens because of a competitive threat. what you really should be doing is focusing on innovation every single step of the way. So let's talk about marketing as the last pillar inside of our 4 pillars. So for marketing, we've got content, we've got paid, we've got web, design. Automation is a big factor inside of our marketing team. And then we've got product marketing as well. And the 2 metrics that I have chosen for marketing are both quality oriented. Often marketing is tasked with the top of funnel, and their metrics are often volume based or quantity based. I would really say in a product first company that the real reason that marketing is there is to increase the quality of the scale, the quality of those relationships, so that they move through the funnel at a more efficient rate. So let's talk about a few of the things to think about. Free. I'm a big fan of free. We've dabbled with free. We're working, trying to figure this out internally. Free, first and foremost, is not a selling. It's not a pricing thing. Free is a channel. Free is a moat. Free has nothing to do with selling. Free has nothing to do with pricing. Free is a moat. It's a way. It's a marketing thing. It's a channel. It's a way to learn. It's a way to bring different people in and learn from them. It's a way to sort of increase virality. So it's definitely something that can be scary, but it's often misconstrued as a pricing or a selling thing, where really it should be. It has nothing. It has very little to do with that. So I encourage you to have those debates and figure that out as well, because I see more and more companies moving towards that. As I just said, the metrics that I want marketing to look at are all quality based. So quality as opposed to volume. Quality enables virality. If I'm going to tell 10 friends about this, or if I'm going to share my dashboards with 5 of my vendors, and 3 consultants, I'm going to do it because the product has wowed me. Nothing else. If the product is crap, I'm not going to tell anybody. Or worse yet, if the product is really crap, I will tell people, but it'll be negative. So quality is something that marketing really needs to understand and rally around. As I said, I would say marketing's focus inside of a product first company is more middle of funnel and bottom of funnel. And again, those relationships and that sort of activation, the education and activation is much more important than building just a huge volume of top of funnel stuff.
I couldn't agree more. Sorry.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, top of funnel will happen. If you have an awesome product, top of funnel will happen. You don't need to spend a lot on advertising. As a matter of fact, every time we spend on advertising, we actually see our quality go down, and 3 months down the line, we actually see our churn go up. So I'm not a big fan of just top of funnel growth and spending on that. I would much rather say let's really figure out middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, and make sure that there's really good quality inside of that.
Yeah, and I find most companies, at least that are going to be listening here, are going to have the typical marketing qualified lead model where they're really just focused on the top of the funnel. And then as soon as they get that marketing qualified lead, their job's done. And so what I really like about this is it's focusing about the quality and how you get people into the product and actually experiencing the value of the product. And so for someone who just isn't there yet, they're still using the traditional marketing qualified lead model. How do you make the switch to really working further down the funnel and really focusing on product?
Yeah, so we actually introduced a metric called True Trials. And you can actually check it out. So we're starting this new site called Metric HQ, where we have it's basically the largest collection of metrics, open community of metrics. So you can go and read a little bit more about True Trials. But the idea is that a true trial is a trial that started, and within a first 7-day period, they came back a second day. So that is actually what our marketing teams are being measured on. I don't care how many trials they start. I care about how many true trials they deliver. So we want that as a quality measure to be really the thing that drives them. Because the true trials, we know, are the ones that convert at like 50%. So those are the kind of customers, those are the kind of trials or prospects that we really want.
Brilliant.
So,
I love that focus.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing, and I mean, I've put it in here under marketing. The other thing that's really critical is that there's a high degree of technical hiring that happens. So much of what the entire company does is data driven, is understanding the data, that you really need to hire, discipline first, technical competency a close second. So make sure that that is inside of everybody's DNA. The other thing that is kind of neat is marketing is so marketing typically had all of their marketing analytics, their GA or whatever analytics tool they used. Google Analytics was on the website, and then it kind of stopped. But our marketing teams actually now have a lot of GA hooks inside of the app as well. So we use other tools as well. We use mixed paneling. We use our own behavioral data gathering. But we're also putting GA inside of the app so that marketing has a better sense of exactly what is happening, post when they deliver that true trial. All right, so this is the last slide. So having understood all of those functions, I just wanted to circle back again about that cross-functional discipline, or that cross-functional idea, and really looking at culture, looking at the brand experience, looking at growth, looking at innovation. I think more than ever in the past, a product-led company isn't one that throws something over the fence to the next team. Your users don't think that way. They don't care that they're in a flow that belongs to finance, or now that they're in a flow that belongs to support. So having these cross-functional guilds and these cross-functional working teams, like every time we do a design sprint, even though a design sprint is something that is owned by a product manager, we make sure that there is representation from every single team. And I can tell you that does two things. Internally, it builds respect, and it builds understanding and engagement, inside of the flows that we're developing. But it also really helps the customer, because every person that is not inside a product brings a slightly different perspective. So I'm a huge fan of making sure that you've got open transparency, cross-functional departments, cross-functional guilds that work inside of each of your departments. So I'm going to leave it there, Wes. Hopefully this has been helpful. It's something that we're really thrilled and passionate about, and we've been doing for a long time.
Absolutely.
And I see more and more companies doing this as well, so this is great.
Yeah, and I love the last slide here, really just focusing on the cross-functional component. And so one of the big areas I see happen quite a bit, especially as the business gets bigger and they try and approach product-led growth, is that there's a lot of silos between especially the product and marketing team. I at least noticed that one more, since that's where I tend to live. But how do you really try and break down those silos and get people to really collaborate and work on some of these projects?
So we've got not in this room, but we've got whiteboard walls all over. And one of the best things that can illustrate the flow is if you actually flow out, using a massive flow. Here's customer A. This is what happens. And then you sort of overlay. Well, who's responsible for this? It's not a simple process, and every single team does have an input, and it just goes to show you've got to be working together. And there's so much that product can learn from support. There's so much that marketing can learn from the accounting team. There's so much that everybody can really participate and help out. I mean, one of the ways that you can drive innovation and disruptive thinking is just by having somebody else who's not the same as everybody else inside of a discussion. As soon as you have an agitator or somebody different inside of that group, you have a slightly different discussion. And I think that's a massive. I mean, there's a lot of discussion about diversity inside of product teams. If your customers are diverse, your product teams should be diverse as well, right? And I think every company's got a massive opportunity inside of their four walls to bring people into those discussions. And I think it has I think it has massive cultural benefits as well. But it really educates everybody. It brings everybody in. So there's no downside to that.
Awesome. I really like that approach. And so for someone who is operating, let's say, a sales-led business or
Yep.
marketing-led, how
Yep.
do you really recommend for them to try and make this organizational shift, at least from, let's hear from the executives kind of take of how you would go about making this shift?
Yeah, I mean, I think that very first slide that I presented, first there's a recognition that, is in fact the product that we have, is it in fact our primary method of selling, marketing, onboarding, upgrading? Is that actually in fact the case, right? If it's not, then I think, that's sort of the first step that has to happen. There has to be a decided push to invest in product to make sure that those flows and that the customer journeys are actually handled. I think the other part, make sure that every team is organized and central to that vision. That actually has a little bit more to do with kind of having a safe environment and the fear of the unknown and the fear of not being sales first or marketing first. So I think that has more to do with understanding what product led actually means. Our marketing and our sales teams and our accounting teams are no less important than the product teams. They just have an understanding that all of the things that they're trying to do will be that much more efficient and effective because they're happening right inside of the product. So they work with product teams to make sure that what they're doing is really amazing. So I think, for companies that are not, first of all, is it even possible that your product can be product first? Can those flows, can the marketing, can the supporting, can the buying all happen in the product? Maybe it is already today. And then secondly, can you align your teams? Is there the trust and the openness and the dialogue there to really leverage that idea that product first means that everybody is now leveraging this single engine that can be, way more effective than doing things as silos.
Absolutely. And I guess I could probably talk to you forever about product-led growth since I love this conversation. This is amazing. But I will be conscious of your time. And I just have one last question. It's more of a personal one. Whenever it comes to running a product-led business, like what gets you excited about running a product-led business?
Oh, that's a cool question. I don't know that I have the perfect answer for that. What does get me excited is volume. I really, or maybe I'll answer it the other way around. I would much rather sell to 1,000 customers and understand the flows and understand those levers and dials than to sell to 10 customers, where to me it feels a little bit more like a sales negotiation, separate flows. And I think that's actually an important point too. Even though product first, can work just as well for an enterprise type application, I think there is a volume threshold that needs to be covered to be truly product first. I think product first lends itself more to the Slacks where they're selling lots and lots. And it's a little bit more difficult to do for a company that has, a $500,000 price tag. It still can be done. But to me, that's the thing that excites me. I love SMB. I love the entrepreneur's journey. I love the small and mid-sized, companies' journey, and helping them with decisions. And I mean, this is, I'm passionate about our space of dashboarding and business intelligence. But I also love that, everything is happening inside of the product journey. I mean, to me, this makes perfect sense.
Awesome. I love that
I
response.
have no clue if that answered your question.
No, it definitely did. And I think it really comes down to the personal opinion of what kind of business you want to have. Do you want to have 5 customers at, let's say, $100,000 each, or do you want to have 5,000 at like 100? And same kind of revenue. It's just one is a lot less risky. And with a free trial, freemium model, you can almost predict a month ahead. What is that month going to look like revenue-wise?
Oh, totally, absolutely. I mean, that's a different topic altogether. But I mean, volume allows you to be, have these leading indicators, right? Volume allows you to be more predictive about what's happening, right? There's more data that you can look at. Yeah, for sure. That's another awesome topic that we can chat about too.
Yeah, and for someone who has a dashboard tool, that's
totally. I mean, that's right up our alley, right? So
perfect. And so for anyone to find out more about you, where should they go?
So, I mean, to find out more about the company, check out klipfolio.com. Check out Metrics HQ if you want to look at, the metrics and the definitions. Feel free to contact me. Check me out on LinkedIn. Happy to chat anytime. Go from there.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Allan, for hopping on this call and going through how to build a product-led organization. This has been absolutely fascinating.
Awesome. Sounds good, Wes. I appreciate it.